The new camera was faster. The autofocus was better. The files were cleaner. It had more resolution, better subject detection, improved controls, and enough customizable buttons to make you wonder whether the camera expected you to file a flight plan. And after that first wave of excitement wore off, the photographs looked strangely familiar. The same distracting backgrounds, the same moments captured half a second too late, the same uncertain compositions. Essentially, they were the same photographs, only now with more detail and cleaner shadows. So how can a camera be significantly better while the photographs barely improve? The answer is not that equipment never matters. It absolutely matters. The mistake is expecting a camera to solve problems that did not originate inside the camera. Welcome to Your Camera is Not the Problem, the photography podcast for anyone tired of confusing settings, questionable advice, and the feeling that better gear will somehow fix everything. I'm photographer and educator Joseph Nuzzo of ShutterSpeak. Around here, we talk about decisions, skills, mistakes, and occasional equipment problems that shape our photography. Because sometimes the camera is the problem, but usually it's not. And better photography starts before the shutter button. By the end of this episode, you will have a practical way to separate a genuine equipment limitation from a problem involving position, timing, light, settings, expectations, or photographic intent. Because buying the wrong equipment is expensive, but so is spending years blaming the wrong problem. Before we get into it, if this is the kind of honest photography conversation you find useful, subscribe to or follow the podcast so you do not miss future episodes. And if your podcast app allows reviews, leaving a 5-star review is a simple way to help more photographers find the show. I own both a Nikon Z6 II and a Nikon Z9, but the smaller, lighter, and much less expensive Z6 II is the camera I take with me most days. The Z9 does not automatically give me better photographs. It does have a significantly larger battery, more capable autofocus, and other advantages. When a job demands those capabilities, I take it off the shelf. Otherwise, it usually stays home. That experience points to an important distinction whenever we talk about upgrading. A camera can improve the conditions under which you make a photograph without improving the decisions that create it. A newer camera may focus faster. It may track subjects more reliably. It may produce cleaner files at higher ISO settings. It may give you more resolution, a deeper buffer, better controls, or greater reliability. Those are real improvements. But the camera still cannot decide where you should stand. It cannot decide what belongs in the frame. It cannot recognize that the bright object behind your subject is pulling attention away from the photograph. It cannot know which moment matters, and it cannot decide whether the light is helping or whether you are simply taking a photograph because you carried your camera all the way out there and now feel committed. A camera can improve capability. It cannot replace judgment. Imagine a wildlife photographer upgrading to a camera with excellent bird detection. The new system finds the bird's eye quickly and holds it more reliably than the previous camera. The eye is sharp. Technically, the auto improvement is obvious, but there is a bright branch crossing directly behind the bird's head. The background is busy, the light is flat, and the bird is facing away at an awkward angle. The autofocus improved. The photograph did not improve by the same amount. That does not make bird detection pointless. It means the feature solved one part of the photograph. The camera made the execution easier. It could not determine whether the decision was worth executing. This is one reason gear purchases can feel so convincing. Equipment creates immediate and measurable change. You can compare frame rates, you can count megapixels, you can test how quickly a camera detects an eye. You can compare high ISO files and evaluate noise. The difference is visible immediately. Timing, observation, anticipation, positioning, and editing judgment are different. Those improve gradually. They're difficult to measure. There is no menu screen that tells you your background awareness has improved by 17%. There is no firmware update for recognizing the better moment. And we are photographers. Naturally, the most appealing diagnosis is the one that arrives in a box. The marketing is not necessarily lying to you. That's important. A demonstration of a new camera usually shows the conditions in which its new features perform well. If the camera tracks a runner more effectively, that improvement may be completely real. The problem begins when we turn a narrow technical improvement into a broad promise about our photography. The camera tracks better, so we assume our sports photographs will become more compelling. The lens is sharper, so we assume our portraits will become stronger. The sensor has more resolution, so we assume our landscapes will have more impact. Sometimes that happens, but it does not happen automatically. A sharper portrait lens will resolve more detail. It will also resolve every distracting object in the background with remarkable confidence if you keep standing in the same place. The lens did its job. The photograph is still waiting for you to do yours. Before deciding whether a new camera or lens will improve your photography, you need to identify the actual limitation. A useful equipment limitation is specific and observable. My photographs are not good enough is not a useful diagnosis. My camera cannot maintain focus on subjects I regularly photograph in low light is useful. My lens does not provide the working distance I need from the position I'm required to use is useful. The buffer fills before an important sequence is complete is useful. My current system cannot provide the flash behavior I need for event work is useful. Those statements can be tested. They identify a recurring problem. Most importantly, they allow you to ask whether the proposed equipment directly solves it. Consider the photographer who says the camera produces soft sports photographs. That distinction could involve autofocus failure. It could involve the selected autofocus area. The shutter speed might be too slow. The depth of field might be too shallow. The camera might have moved during the exposure. The photographer may have focused correctly, but missed the important instant. The lens may be genuinely struggling, or the photograph may look perfectly good at normal viewing size, but disappointing when examined at a level of magnification normally reserved for investigating evidence. Soft is a description. It is not a diagnosis. Suppose the player's face is sharp, but the stick and hands are streaked. The autofocus may have worked perfectly. The player moved during the exposure. A newer autofocus system will not freeze motion caused by a shutter speed that is too slow. Suppose the boards behind the player are sharp, but the player is not. Now, we may have a genuine focus placement problem. Suppose everything in the frame has the same directional blur. The camera probably moved during the exposure. All three photographs might be described as soft, but they are not the same failure. Each requires a different solution. This is why diagnosis matters before shopping. Once you understand the actual problem, you can decide whether new equipment is the best solution or simply the most enjoyable one. And to be clear, enjoyment is allowed. You do not need to prepare a legal defense every time you buy a lens. You are allowed to appreciate a camera because it feels better, because it makes photography more convenient, or simply because you want it. Those are legitimate reasons. Just do not confuse desire with necessity. If your goal is specifically to improve your photographs, you also need to consider opportunity cost. The cost of an upgrade is not limited to the number printed on the receipt. A new system may require new batteries, cards, accessories, software, or lenses. It may add weight. It may change your workflow. It may require time to learn new controls. And the money could potentially improve another part of your photography more effectively. Imagine you have enough money available for either a new camera body or several weekends spent repeatedly photographing the type of subject you care about. The camera may improve your technical success rate. The repeated practice may improve your timing, observation, familiarity, positioning, and ability to recognize stronger photographs. Neither choice is automatically correct. The correct choice depends on what is limiting you. If your current camera cannot reliably track the subject and that failure repeatedly costs you important photographs, the new camera may be the better investment. If your camera already handles the subject well, but you consistently arrive without a plan, choose weak positions, or react after the moment develops, more time photographing may make the larger difference. Evaluate the purchase by the improvement it is likely to create in completed photographs, not merely by how much better the new product looks on a specification sheet. Now, the strongest argument against everything I have said so far is simple. Sometimes better gear really does make better photographs. Yes, it does. A more reliable autofocus system can increase the number of usable action photographs. A longer lens can make a subject reachable from a position you cannot leave. Better low-light performance can allow you to use the shutter speed needed to control movement. A larger buffer can allow you to complete an important sequence. Better controls can make the camera faster and more dependable under pressure. Greater resolution may satisfy a real output requirement. A more reliable flash system may prevent inconsistent event coverage. The idea that a skilled photographer can make every photograph with any camera sounds inspirational. It is also incomplete. Cameras have physical limits. Lenses have physical limits. Workflows have practical limits. Sometimes equipment genuinely prevents or compromises the photograph. The important question is not whether the new camera is better. It probably is. The question is whether it is better in a way that matters to you. Better equipment matters most when the limitation is clearly identified. It occurs frequently enough to matter. The new equipment directly addresses it, and the improvement justifies the added cost and complexity. That is not anti-gear. That is how you make a useful gear decision. But before you reach that decision, examine the choices that can improve the photograph without replacing anything. Move a few feet to simplify the background. Change your height. Wait for better light. Choose a shutter speed that matches the movement. Watch what is happening around the subject instead of staring only at the subject. Anticipate where the action is going. Decide what the photograph is actually about. Recognize when the subject and background are competing. Edit with a clearer purpose. Those choices can transform a photograph without changing the camera. Picture two photographers using the same equipment at a hockey game. The first photographer follows the puck and reacts after each play develops. The second photographer understands where the play is likely to go. That photographer chooses a position based on the next possible movement, watches players away from the puck, recognizes the developing pass, and prepares before the action arrives. When the second photographer consistently captures better moments, the difference may look like autofocus performance. Some of it may be, but a large part of it is anticipation. The camera can react quickly. The photographer still has to know what is worth reacting to. So here is a practical test you can use before your next upgrade. Write down the exact photograph your current equipment prevents you from making. Not the feature you want, not the specification that impressed you, the photograph. Then answer 5 questions. First, what specifically goes wrong? Avoid saying that the image quality is not good enough. Describe the visible failure. Does the camera focus behind the subject? Does the buffer fill? Is the lens too short from the required position? Are you able to use the necessary shutter speed in the available light? Second, how often does the problem occur? Is this a regular limitation in the photography you actually do, or did it happen twice under unusual conditions? Occasional frustration and recurring limitation are not the same thing. Third, what evidence shows that the equipment caused it? Review the files. Separate focus failure from subject movement. Separate poor timing from frame rate. Separate camera movement from lens sharpness. Separate processing problems from capture problems. And separate a real limitation from expectations created by examining every file at extreme magnification. Fourth, will the proposed equipment directly solve the problem? Identify the exact capability responsible. Do not stop at saying the new camera has better autofocus. Better in what way? Under what conditions? With which lenses? And does that difference address the failure you're actually experiencing? Fifth, could a less expensive change solve the problem first? Could technique solve it? Could better lighting help? Would support equipment make a difference? Could you rent the lens for the occasional assignment? Would education, practice, or a workflow change solve the recurring problem? Then ask one final question. If the new camera does nothing to improve your position, timing, light, or composition, will it still solve the problem you wrote down? If the answer is yes, you may have identified a legitimate reason to upgrade. If the answer is no, the camera may be better, but it is probably not the solution to this particular photograph. That brings us back to the opening question. How can a camera be significantly better while the photographs barely improve? Because the upgrade changes what the camera can do while leaving the same photographic choices in place. A better camera can produce cleaner files, track subjects more reliably, respond faster, and remove genuine limitations. But technical improvement and photographic improvement are not identical. So diagnose the photograph before diagnosing the shopping cart. And I would like to hear about your experience with this. Send me the piece of equipment you upgraded, the problem you expected it to solve, and what actually changed. Maybe it transformed the way you work. Maybe it made photography easier and more enjoyable. Or maybe it gave you a beautifully engineered way to repeat the same decisions. Your story may become the basis of a future episode. And if this episode helped you make a clearer decision about your equipment, subscribe to or follow the show. If you have a moment, leave a 5-star review in your podcast app. It helps other photographers discover the show, and I appreciate it. A new camera can make photography faster, easier, more reliable, and more enjoyable. Those are all legitimate reasons to own it. But when the goal is better photographs, begin with the photograph. Identify what is missing, determine what caused it, then decide whether the solution belongs in your hands in your decisions, or in your camera bag. This has been Your Camera is Not the Problem. I'm Joseph Nuzzo, and remember, better photography starts before the shutter button.